People may have a tendency to view others' opinions as criticism, and may even feel they are being rejected. This triggers the need to be defensive, and might even open a door for resentment and eventually sever relationships. What we believe in and what we consider our values is an integral part of who we are. Respect for opinions is not easy, but once you set your intent to have it, gain mastery over self, it becomes your distinct personality art form and communications blueprint for positive interactions with others. Being open-minded requires self-esteem, self-control, and emphatic listening skills. A genuine desire to truly understand what someone is about and how they feel. As you allow yourself to be more sensitive and tolerant, you treat others with greater compassion, fairness, and generosity of spirit. The great thing is, we are not being untrue to our own beliefs and opinions by respecting others. We open ourselves up to other perspectives that might actually help us. We just need to recognize that others are entitled to view things differently than us, and know they will be treated fairly. Join us live for this topic and more discussion on A7. Thanks for watching. Boo! That was quick. Welcome to Andromeda 7, your celestial gateway, your channel for community support, love, friendship, knowledge, and just plain being of value to others. Welcome back. If you're new to the channel, it's always good to have you with us. If you're returning, thank you. Really appreciate that. And you know what Friday is. It's Friday night. It's time to feed your mind and grow your heart. Tonight we're talking about the values of others' opinions and beliefs. And we've got several questions we're going to talk about with the panel about this subject. And we spent a good, week to 10 days on this, Teresa, pulling this all together.
Oh, yeah, we did. It was quite a collaborative effort.
Yeah, we were kind of dealing with a lot of stuff with this, but it really turned out nice, and we're really, really excited to be here. Mm-hmm. Before we go too much further, I just want to go ahead and just acknowledge everyone in chat. First of all, I'd really like to thank all the moderators that are in chat. Thank you so much. We appreciate you keeping things light and simple in the chat room. We don't put up with any rude behavior, any of that. We want to be respectful. A lot of people choose not to be in chat, and if you don't want to be in chat, just simply don't watch it. It's all good. Let's see. Hi, Chloe. Good to have you with us. Hello, beautiful Soul Tribe family. It's good to have you here. Black Raven Meditation, liking you, girl. I like you. Thank you. Mary Wins, always a pleasure. Lucky Stone, loving your channel, buddy. It's great stuff. And let's see who else we got. I guess that's pretty much it to get started.
Well, Gazakov and Brenda.
Crystal Shaman, good to see you. Yep, Gazakov. I'm getting there, Teresa. Let's see. No, Brenda. I know, I feel you. Hi, Brenda. It's good to see you. I really appreciate seeing you here. It always makes me feel warm and fuzzy, for sure. And yeah, I think that's it. Everybody's here that's here for the moment. We have about 15 people watching. And on that note, I will send it over to Teresa, my beautiful co-host, to give us the opening remarks before we continue our discussion.
Thank you, dear. Thank you.
You betcha.
And also, special thanks to Lori, because she came out with the most beautiful 3-minute meditation video. If you all haven't seen it, go out there and run it. It's like 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and it is wonderful. She went all out. She's recently upgraded our software systems and has been delving into it.
Just well done.
Uber creative. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
I enjoyed making it. It was really fun.
I mean, I turn it on every night before I go to bed and get that, and I'll put it on a cycle, and I'll get 2 or 3 rounds of it. It's really, really opens you up. It really does. The I am essence, definitely. So anyway, I'm plugging my own partner here because she did a great job and this video too. She put it all what we collaborated on. She put into the video and really helped set the stage for that. So
Awesome. Joe Sapien just joined us. Good to have
Joe
you with us.
Sapien.
And
Okay.
Intergroove, good to
All
have you
right.
here as well. All right.
Hey, Joe.
Let's see. Let me get started here with
Yeah.
a couple just to go a little bit step further. And Lori wrote a lot of this too. So we really put
Collaboration.
we really pulled our notes together on this.
Yeah,
But
we did.
respecting others' beliefs opens us up to alternative views, each one distinctly theirs, and each person's view is their experience and understanding of themselves. Respecting each person's beliefs and truths without harsh judgment allows us an alternate perspective without limiting ourselves. And when we see others' truth, it often helps us to understand ourselves more fully. That's for sure. A presumptive opinion sharing, on the other hand, is the act of speaking as if our opinions surely must be shared by everyone else too. After all, it's the only correct opinion. This kind of presumption originates in both our own passions about issues. People get passionate, and sometimes they're driven by anger or frustration about all the stuff that's going on around them. And there's a lot of revelations and a lot of stuff going on around us. So, but it's also, on the other hand, a subconscious lack of sensitivity. I hate to use the word lack, but it's the failure to be sensitive. I hate to use the word failure. It's just that you're so worked up in your own beliefs and your own opinions and your own values that you're yes, and you're coming off as being insensitive. Others might react negatively to that, and so it causes people to back off or separate from the group. It's also oftentimes a covert way for more manipulative type personalities to say, in a sort of backhanded way, you should be thinking like me, or the rest of us, get with the program. But we're all very different. So it can be a form of bullying behavior, making others feel intimidated, and it can hurt them. Now, it's true, Lori and I talked about this, it's true that we're all responsible for how we choose to react to these situations, how we manage our egos, our emotional responses, not only when we're sharing our viewpoints and beliefs, but when we're listening to others. There's always an opportunity to breathe, use some emphatic listening, just be quiet, give them a chance to get their words out, and not just be more sensitive, more loving, and more respectful and caring of others is what we feel. So as not to express ourselves with these kinds of presumptions, because it closes doors instead of opens them. So there is actually a small reading from Suzanne Geisman that I wanted to share just to start the intent for tonight. Because we as a panel have to listen. We all have different points of views and different angles and perspectives, and give each other a chance to talk and not step on each other. And so we do it. We try to do our best every week with these larger panels, and it's a challenge. But Suzanne Geisman says this: when you see with physical eyes, there's a tendency to pick out the differences. And when you hear words, which often differ from your own, there's a tendency to compare. And when you pick out differences and compare, there's sometimes a tendency to judge. And when you judge, there's a tendency to focus upon separation at the cost of seeing your connection with someone. Let us return first to that place inside which knows we are all one and connected by the same God force energy, whatever you call God, and allow this force to fill us, flushing out all thoughts of separation. Then see with the eyes of spirit, hear and think with the mind of magnificence, and commune with each other in a state of love. This is how you return to the basics of surviving and thriving in this temporary sojourn in a body. I thought that was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to thank Jeannie because she spent some time with me on the phone the other day. We talked for a couple of hours,
Michael.
more than a couple of hours. And we were able to compare without judgment. We were able to understand how we talk differently about the things we believe in. And we come to find out that there was a heck of a lot of synchronicity, and we're more alike than we're not alike. We have almost the same outlook on things. It's just that how we get there and how we view it and talk about it is slightly different. And it was a wonderful conversation. So appreciate that, Jeannie. No judgment, no criticism, and we really listened to understand each other. So that was a wonderful conversation. Panel, don't forget to take yourselves off mute. Those who can. All right, Lori, off to you.
All right. So Teresa and I have been talking about it. We came up with 5 questions we'd like to ask the panel. And the way I'd like to do this is just ask the first question and give each panelist an opportunity to express their opinion about it. And just, Jules, I'd like to begin with you. And the question for you, Jules, is what are your values and how do you live your life?
In my garden. Well, my values is actually watching how nature works, and that shows you how a lot of things work. And now that I've got 2 new little ones, watching them work, and they're my values at the moment. That's my and watching how they are going to now evolve, and actually I'm going to listen to what they've got to tell us because they're so fresh and new. They're going to come out with things that are probably going to really, tell us stuff that we're going to remember, like that they'll jog our memories, I'd say. And I just I was having a moment with the little fella before I come to air, and we were just looking at each other in our eyes. He's only 4 months old, and I thought, oh, thank you for that information.
So really your values are your family and the love and the trust that you have between all of you. I would say that's an excellent value to have, no doubt about it. Brian, we know you're on about a 5-second delay, so we'll allow you that extra time to absorb this. And what, Brian, are your values and how do you live your life?
My values, definitely family, and that's just not biological family. All of you, my people from group, that family. I try to live my life in love. I try to be kind to everyone I meet.
Yeah, you do.
I just try to share my knowledge and my life with as many people as I can.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So again, you value friendship, you value your family, and even the family that isn't biological. So that's good. I like that.
Correct.
Awesome. Randy, how about you? I know you're going to have something very incredible to say about this.
I would say that my values are pretty much in sync with my principles and my philosophies and my spiritual direction. I always give room for my humanity because I think, none of us are completely black and white or perfect. We're all in process. But I like to try to be grounded, balanced, centered in the heart, centered in love and compassion.
Mm-hmm.
I like to have my thoughts, my words, and my actions to be in sync with those values, and to try to pay it forward whenever you can, to try to be loving in nature, to try to be compassionate in nature, to try to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, to be there for people, to hold space for people, to be able to show love and kindness when there's absolutely nothing in it for you whatsoever, except being purpose driven and intentional in the modality of being a light in the world, even if it's just a kindness to a stranger, even if it's just a good morning or holding a door for somebody. Even it's just, you see in my job, I'm in a medical field. I see people that are hurting. I will drop everything that I'm doing and give them a hug and just hold them.
It's beautiful.
But finding a way of being able to influence your sphere to the best that you possibly can to help alleviate somebody else's suffering, to help to be able to bring wisdom, to bring, even if it's laughter to a situation, which can often be very medicinal. But and like I said, I'm not perfect with that. I'm a human being, and we're all in process. But I think that my values are in line with my intentionality. It's what I live 24 hours a day. It's not just, something I put on.
So what I'm hearing is you put value on not only your truth, but other people's truths, and you see it for what it is, and also that you're a very spiritual being. And anybody that's on the spiritual path that is coming into this really has to trust themselves first and foremost. It really begins with the self-love. And I see that with you, Randy, and I appreciate that from you. So, and the fact that you're in the medical field says a lot too, because you are assisting and helping others all day long. And so people like you should just be held and in high regard, because that's not an easy job. It's very high stress, and people depend on you. People's lives depend on what you do and what you think. So thank goodness there are people like you in the world that are actually doing that kind of work, because it makes me feel good if I ever need to be in that position, that there's someone like you out there. So that's what I hear from you, Randy, and I appreciate that. All right, cool. How about you, Sophia? What are your values and how do you live your life?
I live my life one day, one moment, one situation at a time, staying in the moment. That's how I live it. My values, love, because without it, you have nothing. Service, if you're not in some kind of service, what are you doing down here?
Yeah.
Just trust, because trust is earned. Respect is given, trust is earned, making sure that the people that are in my circle belong there, because the people that are close to me deserve to be that close. So, but growth, trying to leave the world a little bit better than we found it. I don't know about you, but the last 100 years has not been kind to this planet. So doing my part, even if it's a little bit of recycling, a little bit of carpooling, I don't want to leave a mess for the generations behind me. And I don't have any stock in that outside of my baby birds. I'm the crazy aunt that gives them chocolate and, but I don't have any biological children. So I really don't have a dog in that fight as far as the next generation, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because I treat people like I want to be treated.
Yeah, you have a vested interest in treating the planet a certain way, to treating other people a certain way. Because, listen, a lot of us may come back, and if we do, we want this to be a better world than it is right now. And it's when people come from their truth and from integrity and honesty, not just with themselves, but with others, this is really the core value, in my opinion, of today's modern spirituality. And I hear that with you, Sophia. Also, too, the biggest thing I get from you is really self-love and tackling that. And I think that's really, it's so much easier to love other people than it is to really love yourself. And once you grasp that, and once you really make yourself a priority, that's really incredible in my mind.
You can't give it if you don't have it to give.
There you go. Yep, there you go. Delabor! What are your values? How do you live your life?
Well, since I was born in a rather unfree country, I'd say my number one value would be freedom. And that includes not only my own freedom, but everybody else's freedom. And since I believe from a very early age, I've read every single holy book there is of every single religion and found all of them suck. So I decided to create my own. I wrote my own. and it's very strongly based on the principle, the golden rule, which
I
is
know the
do unto
book. It's
other.
Book of Suki.
Yes,
Do you guys know that book? Book of Suki.
Book of Suki.
Mm-mm.
It's yeah, basically do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I strive myself to be the kind of person I myself would want to meet or be a friend of. In other words, to be a good friend, to be there for people, and to add value to any situation I can, whether that's say something stupid or funny or wise, be it as it may, and just try to live as ethically as I can. And those ethics include respecting not only myself but also other people and my relationship with them. So, in other words, don't cause discord, don't be an asshole. Uh, Basically, being of service to other people,
But also to yourself as
but
well.
also to
And
yourself.
I
Yeah,
get that with you,
yeah.
Delabor. You're of very high integrity. As long as I've known you and you've been on the channel, you've been nothing but a very kind and loving person. And it is
Thank you.
so greatly appreciated. You show up every single week. I don't think you ever missed a show. So it's great, with great love and appreciation, that I thank you for being authentically true to who you are and how you treat others. So that really is an amazing thing in my book.
Mhm.
And I'm very honored and pleased to have you on the channel with us and as a
Thank you.
panelist. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Yeah. Hmm.
All right, Griff, it's your turn, gal, and we would like to know your thoughts. What are your values? How do you live your life?
Well, primarily, I start with honesty. You have to be honest, first of all, with yourself, and then in the way you pursue life, with full esteem, and with that, you want to be, of course, you want to be honest, and like Sophia, she lives moment by moment, and that's a good way to do it. It's because you can't change it. You just have to go with the flow and do what you need to do or what I need to do.
Mhm.
And then, as well, everybody kind of said something that I was going to say. So
Mhm.
with that in mind, I just want to say that I told this morning the Ace of Cups, and the Ace of Cups is about generosity. And generosity, when you're generous with yourself, with whatever it be, like how Brian and Randy and Delabar and Julianne and the Sophia, and of course Teresa, I've known you for, it seems like forever now, and
Kindred
Lori,
soul.
generosity will show you how to love.
Yep.
Mm. Wow.
And
Yes, it does.
so with that, that's what that's what I hold up. That's important,
Mm-hmm.
generosity. So,
And that free
but
spirit.
yes, and that was one of the spirit cards that I pulled this morning, was the Ace of Cups.
Gotcha.
So,
Awesome.
Yeah. So the reason I'm repeating some things back after you speak is to see if I'm picking up, and it gives the audience a chance to understand where my thinking's coming from. So, Jeannie, you are a very free spirit in my mind. You don't edit yourself in any way. What you see is what you get. I'm not here to impress you. I'm just here to be me. And I want to thank you for being your authentic and true self. And thank you for being on the panel tonight. Really appreciate your input.
thank you.
Ditto.
All right. So,
Thank you, everybody.
You betcha. So, Jules, I want to get to the next question, and we'll start.
Hang
back
on
with
just a second, Lori. Sophia had her finger up. Did you
that.
want
I'm
to
so
say
sorry I
anything?
didn't see that, Sophia.
And you're on mute, Sophie.
My
Go
bad.
ahead.
I was just agreeing with all the jive.
Oh, you're
Carry
going
on.
right. Okay.
Carry on, my friend. Yeah, this is I agree. Yeah, this
Okay.
is
Great.
I
I think
got
each
something
of
to
us,
say.
I think
Okay.
each of us basically said the same thing, just used different words. Kind
Yeah,
of.
and that's my point. What I'm trying to get at is, we may all see the same thing, but we see it in a different way. And so this is just getting people to really think about how you interpret things, and that's why we're doing it this way. All right, let's go to the next question. How do you accept others' opinions, Jules? How do you accept others' opinions?
Well, watching, of course, the words they use, possibly their actions in how they, be. I've learned a lot by just watching as an observer. And I've learnt really from being so long married to my husband. I've learnt so much from the generosity of his spirit, and my parents, of course. So it does, by observing, and sitting and just, that's mainly how you do learn how others act as well, is through observing and listening.
It's not to say that you don't have opinions about others. You tend to keep that to yourself. So you may sit there and observe and have opinions, but you don't necessarily voice them.
That's and I can go back in a situation that happened when the pause we've had over the last few years. I mean, I don't not say anything, as you know. I say a lot.
Just saying there are times that you do that.
Yeah. And when I was asked a question on a show right at the start, and I just answered it, it's whatever you think. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, you're allowed to have your own thoughts, and I'm not going to say what's right or wrong necessarily. I just go, well, that's exactly how you view it and see it, and you're entitled to that. And that's what I've done in a lot of my videos, is to say that as well, is patience. And you practice your patience, and you just practice, and because you have your own awareness, because of the things you've gone through, you just I know in the situation that's unfolding now is we're not going to be saying I told you so. That's the thing that's going to be the most probably way of compassion, as a lot of things come out, because everybody's way, is of being, everything's becoming visual to them, which is what this moment is about: revelation and realization in how things are revealing to themselves. And it won't be, I'm getting rather emotional, is because the ones you love, you can't go and be saying, I told you so.
Yeah.
Because they're only on that path that they know, and they'll
let them walk
awaken.
their own path. Yep. I agree. Absolutely.
Because I've had to bite my tongue many times in around my family.
Oh yes.
Because not everyone sees everything the way I've seen it for so long.
Yeah.
And it just I've always step away when there's an altercation, because I don't like confrontation. I'm not a fighter, and it's easier to bite your tongue instead of, even though I'm an agitator, that's my job.
I would say you're more of a catalyst.
Well, thank you, Laurie.
I would say so too. Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously.
Exactly
I mean,
to
be fair to you, I would say you are a catalyst. Yes,
Yeah, I
many
think
of
so.
us are. Yes, you bet.
Mhm.
Well, I know over the years in being involved in the community so much, I've had so many say, oh, you're ahead of your time. Well, that can mean so many different things, but I've had it told to me for so many, for so many
Mm-hmm.
years, and it's not like you're patting yourself on the back, but sometimes you have to say how it is, because who is going to do that at times, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're confident in yourself. And I've had to grow in my confidence to be live in front of people. But as you know, the characters that I've dressed up in gave me the confidence to be
Mm-hmm.
the person I am without having to have all those masks on
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
in more
So
ways than one, people.
yes. Yes.
Oh, I
Ryan.
just being a
Yes. Just Jules. I love it.
We have some
Brian.
Joe. Hang on a second. Joe
Sure.
Sapiens, Truth Seeker, Gazakov. They all came in later. Hi guys.
Wonderful. Hi,
Welcome.
guys. Yep.
Good to have
Good
you
to
here.
have you with us. Brian, getting to you. How do you accept others' opinions? Or do you?
I've learned everybody here, they're on their own journey. Their opinion, their thoughts, their beliefs is all part of their journey. I'm on my own journey. Sometimes our journeys may parallel each other, but no one's on the same journey as me. So who am I to judge someone else's journey? It's what they're here to experience. You know,
Mhm.
they can give me their opinion. What I do with it is, up to me. It's
Yep.
not, I
You
mean,
can't
if I
control
don't
what
want to
other
accept
people
their
think.
opinion, exactly. So if I don't accept their opinion, I'm not going to accept their opinion because it does not affect me, no matter what opinion they give me. Their opinion might be along the lines of my opinion. What I'm thinking along the lines of an opinion. Okay, then I might take something from that opinion, but it's their journey. It, it's what they're here to do. It's what they're here to experience. It's not for me to judge. So I either let it roll off of me or I absorb it. That's the only thing
Mm-hmm.
you can really do.
Yep, I wholeheartedly agree with that. And we're all pretty much in line with each other, and this is interesting to me.
Mhm.
Randy, how do you accept other people's opinions?
I'm going to take a little bit of a roundabout, nuanced approach to this question.
I love it. Can't wait.
But the way I see it, first thing that comes to my mind is, other people's opinions of me are none of my business.
I love that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think we have to be in a good place. Am I always in a good place? Nah. Most of the time, yeah. But, for the most part, I think if we're in a good centered place and, we're not coming from ego or responding from ego, then we can kind of perceive and discern where people are coming from energetically. We can, because words are just symbols. It's just language is symbolic. I mean, ultimately, it's what's underneath of that, and we have to be able to read people inside out. And other people's opinions that's just their perspective. It's the story they've told themselves. It's their ego construct that in many ways is being conveyed. And I think we have to be able to not only be able to listen, but to feel, what not only what's being said, but what's not being said.
Mm-hmm.
So I think communication is a nuanced thing, and it requires us to be open. And I tend to take a perspective where I'm looking not only at ego but I'm looking at consciousness as a whole, in that all manifestation is an expression of consciousness, and every single one of us are an expression of that unity of consciousness. And it's not about good or bad, right or wrong, or us versus them, or it's about the totality of the symphony of life, and about everybody having a unique expression of consciousness within them. Now, I might not necessarily be on the same frequency, but that doesn't mean that they don't hold value.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mhm.
If I find myself reacting in such a way to whereas I'm by desire or aversion, I know immediately, okay, that's an ego thing. Or, if I'm caught up in it for a second, maybe it might take me a minute to ponder on it and to reflect upon it and say, okay, that was a moment of weakness for me. I need to be mindful, come back to center, and realize, how can I learn from this? What is in this for me?
Mhm.
Because generally speaking, everybody has a point of wisdom or a point of experience that they come from, why they believe what they believe.
Mhm.
And if I can somehow glean an understanding or a nuance or a facet that I haven't been able to glean within myself, then that's wonderful, because that is in essence, that's love loving to love through the medium of different peoples who appear as separate, but in all actuality, it's one.
Mhm.
We're connecting, we're making connections all the time. And we do that energetically. Now we
Yeah.
can call that, we do that through the language of voice. It's a very crude medium. We do it through the language of communication, but I think ultimately we do it energetically.
Mhm. I agree.
And if we can stay open to others' experiences, others' opinions, I think quite often there's something there for us. you know so I think we have to watch where we're coming from. um as far
Mhm.
as within ourselves, are we coming from a place of openness? Are we coming from a place of consciousness and what would be the right word? Empathy,
Mhm. Mhm.
compassion, right?
Yep. Mhm.
Holding space for others, because I think that's extraordinarily important.
Mhm.
um
Patience.
and well, yeah. um so I think it's important that we keep ourselves in a good place. As I said before, am I always 100% that? No. But mostly
Mhm.
yes.
Mhm.
And in process for the rest of it.
Yeah.
And I think little by little, continuing to grow, continuing to evolve, continuing to reach higher levels of consciousness.
Mhm.
Ultimately, I'm very much rooted in unity consciousness,
Mhm.
but that doesn't mean I don't slip into old ego stuff every once in a while.
Sure. We all do. Yeah. It's
I
just
think,
Yeah.
finding that balance really is the key.
yeah,
Mhm.
I think it's just a matter of keeping it real, being authentic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, how do I accept other people's opinions? Well, um, I'd like to think I do it in a manner that is conducive to the moment, because each moment has a different nuance. Each moment has a different purpose. Each moment has a different where we need to be and how we need to approach that. You know.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully, if I'm listening very closely
Mhm.
and I'm hearing
Mhm.
what my own inner guides, if you will, are telling me, that I'll be I'll be doing the right thing and responding in the right way.
I love
Um,
that, Randy.
and I think that's the best we can do, really.
I totally agree with you. Yep. I resonate with that big time. Just being true and authentic again to yourself. A lot of people have issues with being themselves, and or they will be people that they're not, or they want to be, instead of just being authentic and true. But I really think that comes with confidence. Once you have the confidence to be who you are, and then finding the balance. That's really what spirituality, in my mind, does for people. It allows you to be balanced and and to be non-judgmental, which it's very easy to be judgmental towards people, extremely easy. In fact, I think we're wired that way, to be that way, and you have to basically kind of fight that at times to not be like that. That's really interesting. Go ahead, Teresa. Yes.
Well, I think the spiritual anybody that's on the path to awareness, I would agree. Um, it does so much for you being part of a group or being part of a collective to exchange ideas and information. Have seen though far many more opinionated, stubborn, egotistical people in churches and spiritual communities than anywhere else. And I've worked all over the country in many different types of companies. And I think it's because they are opening up. When you're going through that growth process, there's all these internal cleansing things going on. And you're already torn in different directions, and you're trying to take it all in, and you're passionate about something you've embraced that you synced with, and that becomes your belief. And so you get on
That's
there and you face people in chat rooms or on shows like this, and you just pound, 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 because it's that emotion and that's compassion, and you're bursting to come out of your shell. But I don't think bad of the person. It's just that I see a lot of it in these types of communities where people say, oh, I've been studying this religion and this faith for 5 years, and I'm an expert at Reiki. I'm an expert at. So they get their opinions and they get their belief systems, and it becomes almost like blinders for, because that's where they need to be right now. And
Mm-hmm.
so when they express themselves, they don't realize that they're coming across with a battering ram. It's
well,
it's like step
they
back and
they join these cookie cutter religions because they're expecting
yeah,
a cookie cutter philosophy.
uh-huh,
They want everything black and white. This is good. This is bad.
yeah,
Right. Randy has a comment. Thank you for holding your finger up, Randy. Appreciate that.
Something I've embraced for quite some time now is the idea that beliefs are hindrances. They are limitations of consciousness,
mm-hmm.
and they're self-imposed limitations of consciousness. And one of the things I've tried to do in my life is to challenge myself, challenge my thoughts, challenge my beliefs, test them. I consider myself, for lack of a better term, and because I enjoy the sound of it, a sacred cow tipper.
I like that. Yeah. I think it's important that we challenge our sacred cows, that we challenge our entrenched ideas, that we challenge our mindsets, that we open up to new ideas, and that while we may hold to a particular energetic expression due to gnosis, due to experiential wisdom, when it's strictly on the mental plane, it can be quite limiting to our ability to reach greater discernment and greater refinement and greater higher levels of consciousness, because we've imprisoned ourselves into a particular modality. Interesting.
Interesting perspective. Yeah.
All right, on to Sophia. Thank you, Randy. How do you accept other people's opinions, Sophia?
Objectively, all of them. I don't care who it comes from. It can come from deity, guides, genetically similar strangers, which is what I call my family tree, because most of them I'm not close to, because they don't deserve to be that close to me. And my friends, my soul tribes, because they're the ones that speak the same language that I do. I mean, it depends on the person. It depends on the venue. It depends on the dynamic. Are we at a healing circle? Am I teaching a class? Am I doing a reading? Is this my best friend? Depending on the person, the opinion is how I'm going to respond appropriately, because what's most helpful. Because if you want to put it all on the table, it's not about us, as an individual. It's about us as a collective. Are you helping the community grow by what you're saying and how you're interacting? Or are you part of the problem? What's your end game? And I have a lot of short conversations, because I've come a long way in 29 years. So until they know they're privileged to that information. Period.
You jest.
Yeah. I mean,
I love that.
I look at it this way. The whole reason that I stepped into the spiritual community, the whole reason that I'm not watching this from my big TV downstairs eating Doritos and Diet Coke, there are very gifted people that are self-destructing all over this world. And I believe all of us, if not most of us, have had the privilege to survive ourselves. And I'm sick of stepping over bodies. So if what I have to say is going to have one person a reason to say, you know what, maybe she's right. Maybe she smiled and she meant it, because I do. And there's nothing you can do about it. You know, if someone has an opinion, they're usually talking from a scar. If they're animated about it, let them talk. Be like, look, I love you enough to give you 5 minutes. You start backing me into a corner, we're going to have to, different. You can receive an opinion on so many ways. It's a very broad question, but gracefully helpful, and sometimes no is a complete answer.
Right. Yeah.
And do you have to respond to everyone's opinion? No.
Right.
You can be like, oh, bless your heart, and keep trucking. It doesn't all have to be a rabbit hole.
Right. Yeah. I love that. You're a breath of fresh air, Sophia.
Thanks,
I love
babe.
it. I love your honesty. It just, I love people who can be authentically themselves, and they don't pick any bones about it. This is me. This is who I am, and you can take it or leave it. It's all good, right?
It's a privilege to be on this planet, a privilege to be in a body.
Yes, I agree. Yes, it's a gift.
And when you finally heal your scars and stop destroying yourselves and those around you, then you're usable by spirit.
Absolutely.
When you stop self-destructing, then you're off the bench. Okay? And I have been granted that privilege. And I'm going to make the most of it. And I'm going to make as many people smile and laugh with me. If they don't like it, there's 7.8 billion people on the planet. Half of them, a third of them, do the math. That my time is my most valuable asset. Let's do something cool.
Yeah, definitely. Love it, love it, love it. Dalibor, how about you? How do you accept other people's opinions?
Well, that's really easy. Based on whether or not they edify me or don't edify me. And it's like the people whose opinions don't edify me, I just ignore, and the ones that do edify me, I will concentrate on and interact with, in the hopes of maybe getting a better perspective myself. It's like it doesn't make any sense to concentrate on all opinions being equal, because if somebody's opinions just piss you off, then that's not a good interaction. It's like you're not going to focus on all the foods in a restaurant's menu that you hate and say, oh, I hate this restaurant because they serve potato salad. No, I'm never coming here again.
I love that. Oh, that's great.
Oh my God.
And sometimes sometimes another person's opinion is well founded, but it could be out of place or whatever. And you might not even be speaking the same language. It's like if you walk past a dog and he's barking at you, how do you know he's not cursing you out?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's all based on how you respond to that opinion and what you do with it ultimately. That determines how you should what kind of attitude you should have.
I love that. Thank you, Dalibor. Teresa, go ahead.
I'd just like to follow up with Dalibor and back him up on that. Dalibor, some of the deepest shadow work I've ever done has been because I was triggered by someone who rendered opinion so strongly that it just set off something inside of me. And this was about a year ago. And it happened to me periodically. It was sort of a pattern. And once I recognized that I had the pattern of doing that, I realized, oh, there's something to this. The universe has brought this energy to me. I've reacted to it that way. I didn't do a very good job of controlling my emotions. But it's like I got to work on something here. And then it opens a window for me to see inside my own soul. And I go, oh, I need to work on that, because the reason I'm so pissed off is because he hit a note.
But at the same time,
nobody up to something else.
I agree. But at the same time, you have to also, in the back of your mind, keep in mind the fact that nobody has an opinion just to piss you off. They have an opinion based on their own
with the sole purpose.
Yeah.
Based on I think I'm going to piss off Dalibor today. Let's see, what can I say?
Yeah, exactly. No, but if that other person's opinion is like unfounded, if it's just CNN talking, then then that kind of pisses you off, because you've done your own research. Whereas
Yeah,
that other person hasn't. He's accepted some cookie cutter opinion that's fed to them by
right.
some corporate mainstream marketing media and
But
not based
I
on
didn't
truth.
mean to I didn't mean to say that it was just because the person stated an opinion. Usually when that happens, it's because there's like a debate going on
Hmm.
where you're
Hmm.
exchanging ideas and information, and they're using that presumptive, opinionated, really strong, and it triggers me. It used to trigger me. I mean, I still kind of go, but I listen now more patiently to what they're really trying to say. And why are they chopping me off and cutting me off and telling me, no, you're wrong? You know,
Hmm.
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
that's what I'm talking about. And so afterwards, I usually go back and Lori knows this. I process things and I break things down, and I look
Cancer in you.
always.
It's the cancer.
I look at it and I go, what is this for me? What's good about this for me?
Hmm.
Why am I feeling like this?
Hmm.
And what's good about it for me? Now I could do it without the emotions. Now
Hmm.
I can listen to it and go, think about it and process it and come back and go, oh, without
Hmm.
all that crazy drama and emotion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or without thinking somebody was being insulting me, or turning my back on them or causing division. I don't do that
Yeah.
anymore.
Or that
But I
person could
was
be
very
coming from.
opinionated myself.
Sure, a lot of us were because don't
Yeah.
forget,
Mhm.
a lot of our views are formed mostly by our economic environment that we were born into, and that's not something you have an effect over. You don't have an effect on your birth circumstances. So if you were born into an underprivileged situation, you're going to have a different set of opinions than if you were born into, say, the middle class. And as regards our little venue over here, we're all one percenters. I don't care what anybody says, because when you look at the sum total of the economy, where 2/3 of the human race lives below poverty level on $2 a day, then I'd say
Hmm.
no, the vast majority of humanity is not doing really well.
Hmm.
And they're of course going to have a different set of opinions than people who come from a privileged background like we do.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Fascinating. Thanks, Dalibor.
Excellent.
Jeannie Griff. I love that nickname, Griff, by the way.
Thank you. I like it too. I grew up with it.
I love it.
So,
How do you accept other people's opinions?
well, with all that's being said,
Mm-hmm.
that has been said, I concur with pretty much everything that's been said.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand it, and the understanding that I have of it is that everyone has an opinion,
Mm-hmm.
everyone. And whether it's based on whatever it's based on, it could be based on their culture, like it's already been stated, how they
Mm-hmm.
grew up, what's their
Mm-hmm.
economic background, what's their background in their education. That has a lot to do with it, and what area of education. But when you go back to the when you go back to the original, I would say the original at this point. But when you go back to the Telestay, back in their day, their ideal function was to find beauty and the elegance in everything and in the nature. So if I can find that, then I feel better about that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what's right about it, as Jules likes to say? What's right about it and not what's wrong about it.
At least look. At least have an idea within your own self that they do have an opinion,
Mm-hmm.
and then to be respectful for that opinion,
Mm-hmm.
because that's where they come from, and everybody begins with what they know.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to respect that platform that they're coming from. And there are so many things, the people have on the panel have said so many great points. They've had so many great points that for me to go over it would just take time up on our panel. But I agree with everybody, and just to find the beauty of it.
Thank you, Griff. Thank you. Jules, you had a comment?
Well, I'm just going to comment on what I know from growing up in my family. Mum always says she's got 4 different girls because we all do things differently. So we all grew up in the same household and none of us are the same.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
We all had this, Dad was working class. I mean, of course, it depends when probably the position you come in the family has a lot to do with it. But I just look at my sisters and there's not a lot that's identical.
That leads me into a segue question here. Do you create your own reality, Jules?
Well, in my opinion, and I believe we do. In my own free will that I do have, we do create our own, because again, only going from what I know from my life is working class people. Yeah, and then I went into business with my husband. Now, that was a very out there thing for the family and all people I grew up with thinking, and I heard people go, how can you run a business?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that goes for all the things I have done is through learning these tools that I have, I suppose. In one thing that Ian first said when we went in the shop, oh God, what if this doesn't work? And he says, I'm not even thinking that it wouldn't work. So that has, in my lifetime, that's where I probably started flipping everything, just from those simple words, and then all the rest of the things that I've done is able to manifest. And I've done that. I can prove I've done that by creating it through the words I use or writing it on the shower or whatever it is. So I do believe that we do create our own reality through the eyes that you have only got to see, So that's, and like I've often said, no one can offend you, only if you choose to be offended.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah.
Off-ended. Off has ended.
Yes. Thanks, Jules. Now. Yes. Randy, you have a comment?
Yeah, I hope it's worthy of digressing just a moment. I understand we segued, and I apologize, but I just wanted to say one thing in regards with other people's opinions. Once upon a time, I had the idea that opinions are like, what they're like, and everybody has one, right? And sometimes they stink. Well, eventually over time,
I haven't heard that one.
Eventually over time,
that's funny.
Eventually over time, I learned the principle of dependent arising. It's something that Buddhism teaches, and it's the idea that everything that we see in the manifest world has its roots in the unseen, and its roots within you, within consciousness, within yourself. Because if you would not be able to perceive it in others if you did not have it within yourself. Okay.
Exactly.
So whether that be something beautiful or whether that be something challenging, it's something that exists within you. Okay. And I think it gives us a great deal of responsibility within ourself to be mindful of ourself, because we are connected. There's a unity here.
Most definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
So I just think it's just an extraordinary point that when people are affecting us, no matter what we're seeing, that we should be mindful of. If we're teaching somebody and somebody sees us as a guru, the important part is to point back to their own guru nature, to help them to awaken their own guru nature.
Yes,
right?
Agreed.
But right. And if they're seeing something beautiful in you, to remind them that it is because of your own inner beauty that you see this in me.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes it's so much easier to see it in other people, whether, for what it is, than to recognize it within ourselves.
Yeah, very true, Randy.
So,
Very
so
true.
just a
That's
point I
what
wanted to
we're
make
saying.
on that.
Great point. Thank you for that.
So, thank you.
I'm sorry, Griff, did you have a comment?
Well, all I meant to by that sign was that everything comes full circle eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
True.
With all points concerned, with everybody's opinion that we just heard.
Coming back to you, you mean? Yeah,
on
coming back to
opinion.
you.
Well, it comes in full circle, meaning that when we've already gone over values, we've gone over what how we live. So when we are sometimes confronted with an opinion that we may not agree with, or we know that there's facts beyond that opinion, you just have to let it come full circle, because eventually that person may not be that minute, but eventually that person will come full circle to have the same understanding that you may have at that moment.
And here's an interesting, if I can follow up on that, an interesting thought on that, Jeannie. And okay, so if we're all fractals of the bigger bowl of soup, the ocean, we're all the little drops, and we're experiencing, I believe, everything everywhere all at once as different energies emanating from ourselves into different scenarios. So are you, so is Sophia, so is Brian, all of you. So then you look at it, you look down on it, you go, and I'm up here, higher, I'm up here, I'm looking down, bird's eye view, and I am seeing hundreds of thousands of billions of fractals of self. With all these opinions, because we are an expression of source itself. We are the subconscious or expression of source itself. So how can you not enjoy hearing someone else's opinion? It's an opinion of yours that you've acquired in another way.
True. True.
You've experienced something in a different way, so it's really your opinion that you're objecting to.
Yeah.
You're objecting.
Yes.
Because so wow. It's like, wow. Now you can feel like, oh, Jay, dang it, I might actually freaking want to hear this now because it's me. So then you start taking it in, and then you take what you want from it for what you need in your now, right now. And I've had things come back to me later gone, I remember when you said that, and I didn't really resonate, but now I do.
Click.
Yeah.
It's seed planting. We're planting seeds for ourselves.
Most definitely. Wow. Well said, Teresa.
Well stated. Yeah.
Well stated. Grandpa Brian, do you create your own reality?
Yes, you do. I know I tried to explain that to a couple different tribe members. Your words, your thoughts, your actions create your reality. So if you're constantly thinking negative or something's happening to you, guess what? You're creating that because you're constantly giving it your energy. You need to stop giving it your energy.
That law of attraction.
Your thoughts, your actions, exactly. Your thoughts, all that. Your actions, your words, those are what creates your reality.
Thank you, Brian. Randy, do you create your own reality?
I am echoing Grandpa Brian. Absolutely, we create our own reality. Reality is very subjective, and it is very much based upon our consciousness. I remember when I first started practicing Mahayana Buddhism, and we were doing prostrations. And the prostration is a threefold one, but it's in thought, in word, and in action. And that principle that you just elucidated, that triune Trinity principle that brings manifestation, that is exactly on point, in my opinion, and in my experience. We absolutely do. Because ultimately, there's infinite varieties of ways we can view the world.
That's right.
There's everything is possible. Every permutation that there is possible. But we see through this interesting perspective of our consciousness, of our experience, of how we filter the world. And we can choose to alter our perspective. We can choose to alter our experience. We can choose to direct that. Absolutely concur with Brian.
Wonderful. Thank you, Randy. I love that. Sophia, do you create your own reality?
Yes. Thoughts are things, and it's basically what everybody else has been saying. I mean, what do you want in your life? Surround yourself with things that will facilitate that. The people, take care of yourself. Honor and respect those around you, including the planet, and beautiful and wonderful things happen. It's just, what kind of reality do you want? When you find out what you want, go for it. Pray, rinse, repeat. Step, rinse, repeat.
Uh-huh.
It's not complicated. We live in a complicated world.
True.
And not everything has to be complicated. Not everything has to be exhaustive. It's just when you're meditating, a lot of people are like, oh, it's so hard for me to meditate. Well, sure, it's because your brain's been overstimulated by your phone or computer or
Monkey
traffic
mind.
yeah, just, I don't know what I mean. I don't know about you, but I don't want chaos in my reality, so I reject chaos. And I don't want distortions in my life, so I speak the truth. If I feel an illusion, I put the truth to it. That's why being close to me is a privilege, because if the proverbial whatever hits the fan, I want somebody who's going to have something, important to say to me, because we all have our moments when we have grief, loss, emotion that can kind of put us in a subroutine. That it does change our reality. You can live a good life and have everything that you could ever want, physically, but if you're a mess mentally, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So true. Yes.
So staying as positive as possible, loving those in your life, and for me, it's sticking with the truth, and not all truth is pretty, but it's truth.
Right.
But it's true.
It's true.
That's the important thing. Yes. Teresa?
That's what I do.
Thank you, Sophia.
Sophia.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, this is a good one.
All right. Bring it on.
Yes, I create my reality. We all do. And we've all said it here on the panel. And many, many people in our community. And then you'll have different people who are new to all this. They'll ask a question. One of the questions that I was asked not so long ago by someone is, what is wrong? Well, I'm having a problem in the community because everybody sees something a certain way and I'm just not there yet. And I said, that's okay. We're all on a different level. What can I help you with? The question is, if everything that's going on out there is not your reality, because you're envisioning what your reality is and you're creating your reality, but everybody else is experiencing all these other things, how are you creating your own reality? Because we're all in something else. And I'm like, it's multi-layered. We create our reality in our inner self, in our thought. Those of us who believe in this and can do this have grown to the point where we have created and envisioned the way we respond to things is what creates our reality. We create what we want to see, feel, hear, touch, react with, synchronize with, what makes us feel good, that which serves us, serves our purpose. We don't put our energies into certain things that take us away from our layer. We are our own layer of reality. And then there's another layer around us that's created through the consciousness, because each and every one of you has your own reality. So if you have your own reality and 20 or 50 or 100 or 1,000 of you share in that reality, then it can, and I don't want to use the word encroach, it can bump up against mine in a positive way. It can rub up against mine and bleed into some of my reality because I'm part of the conscious collective as well. So as a society right here in this now in 2023, January 6th of 2023, we have this reality that includes all these things that are going on in politics, religion, science, because everybody's experiencing that aspect of the reality. So we have to experience it along with them. How we choose to experience it in our inner world of creativity is the key. So I do believe we create our own reality, but it's almost like it's our inner reality, our inner knowing, our peace, and everything else that surrounds us is another layer of reality. Am I making sense? That reality is multi-layered.
Yeah.
That we have our own,
Absolutely.
and then a shared reality. We have a shared. I have this right now is a shared reality with you all.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Right.
There's other people not seeing this, hearing it, listening to it. It's not their reality.
Right. Not yet.
Not yet.
Yep.
Randy, go ahead. Randy.
I would call that individual consciousness, group consciousness, collective consciousness, and it builds on in those layers. I would say that because we can enter into a group mind, a hive mind type thing, and yeah, I mean that's the way I would put that.
Yeah.
But I also echo what she's saying. That is layers.
I like that. Dalibor, do you create your own reality?
That depends on what you mean by reality.
How do you define reality?
Well, there's many different, like Teresa said, there's many different levels. I mean, I wouldn't be as presumptuous as to say that we create our own reality 100% of the time, because you can always change your mind, but you can't change your soul. You can't change your
Free will.
essence of who you are.
Yeah.
Because the inner I, the ipsissimus never changes. The oversoul never changes. You can change the garniture, you can change the circumstances of your life, but also not 100% and not in every regard. I mean, if you say, yeah, you can change your own reality, well, try telling that to like a concentration camp inmate.
Yeah.
To what degree can they change their reality? Not much.
Well,
So I would say, yeah, you can change your mind, you can change your perception, and based on what you're like in your essence, you're going to focus on those aspects of reality that you can change, and then change those, and then so I'd say, yeah, it's both ways. You can and you can't change your reality.
Interesting. I like that. Griff, what do you say about that? Do you create your own reality?
Yes. In most circumstances, I would concur that we do. And then on the other hand, circumstances come in our world, in our reality, and we have to regroup. We have to change some things up. There's a lot of changes that happen over a lifetime. So, like, for instance, who's the cat that got in that accident just a couple of weeks ago? Mr. Francis? I mean, you get into an accident, that changes your reality. I mean, what if somebody, for instance, ends up transitioning because of that accident? So there's things that change constantly. It's constantly changing. It's a variable, it's mutable, it's, and contingent on how that person is grounded in their foundations will be able to assist in moving on with any kind of bumps in the road that come along, and you learn how to get over these things. And some things you just don't get over, and then some things are easier as the years go on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's points that all the panel have mentioned. I'm the last one in the group. I can see all the points of view and how they're so relevant in our lives, in our realities.
Mm-hmm.
And as an individual, as a core family, and as a collective family. So they're on different, and then there's time frames, different linear time. So
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's all how you manage through that reality.
Mm-hmm.
But we do make it. Yeah.
Yeah, how you get through it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Thanks, Griff. So we are coming to the end of the show here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine the last two questions and put them together. And Jules, we're back to you. And I'm going to ask you, are we one and the same? Do you see others' points of view? Check your mute there.
Well, I've often used over the years, go to the top of the tree, and there's infinite points to view. And when I have people at my table, some look at the mountain and some look at the window, and I'll often say, I'm not able to see your view because I have my head to the mountain, but I can actually see the reflection of the mountain in the mirror,
Yeah.
in the window. But I often say that it doesn't make it wrong. Just because I said, all you got to do is change your view a little bit by 1 degree, and you've got a different outlook or a different view. So that's kind of how I always use as an analogy when I'm speaking is go to the top of the tree and there's infinite views. And again, I thank my dad for saying top of the tree, pick of the orchard.
I love that.
And so when you're able, and because nature is virtually, I use a lot of my analogies because that's really my truth is the nature in me. So that's how I usually, because I've learnt from all my family, from their opinion. They'll say something and I go, oh, and that's what really woken me up because someone gave me a point of view, and I go point of view instead of a point of view. Someone gave me a point of view that I had not seen, and that pulled me out of my hole that many years ago because I had not seen that view. And I went, oh, my goodness. And I saw the light from that moment because it was a different view that I was willing to see than the hole that I was in at the time.
Oh, wow. Yep. I think we've all experienced
Did I answer the question?
Yeah, of course. Of course you did. Absolutely. You get an A.
Thanks, Mum. How about you, Laurie? Can I ask you the question? Now that you're above me, what view do you see?
I would say I see things from the top of the tree, pick of the orchard. I'm looking down as well, and I'm seeing what I'm seeing, and I'm taking in what I'm taking in. And I'm not making any judgment calls. I'm just noticing, and I'm observing, and I'm saying, okay, well, that's person's view, or that's where they're coming from, or that's the part of the branch that they're on. Good for them. Good for them. Yeah.
The tree's a good analogy for everything.
It is, because it really is the tree of life. And as above, so below as well.
Yep. Yeah. Down in those dirty old roots, hey?
Yes.
Foundation.
Right on. Foundation all the way. Grandpa Brian, same question to you. Are we one and the same, and do you see others' points of view?
Yes, I do believe we're all one the same because I do believe that we're all fractals of a bigger spirit. And one day we'll go back there and all come back together and think as a collective. I do value other people's opinions when I do believe that opinion serves my best and highest interest. So I use discernment on the opinions that people have given to me. One last thing I like to say, I have a
Hmm.
little sticky pad up above, no, up above my light switch right by my door frame. At the very
Hmm.
top of it, it says, "Be kind to everyone you meet today." Underneath that, it says, "Show compassion to everyone you meet today." Underneath that, it says, "Favor walks with me. Share that favor with everyone I meet today." And then the last one says, "Just love everyone you meet today." And I look at that every morning as I walk out the door, and I try to live my life by those four mottos right there.
I like that. Yeah, that's a good motto to live by, definitely, and a great reminder on a daily basis. Very good.
Yep.
Randy, how about you? Are we one and the same, and do you see others' points of view? Oh, you're muted, Randy. Oh, there you go.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Um, we are simultaneously both and neither. We are in infinite variety of one single mind that is manifested in order that it can know itself.
Yeah,
Ultimately, ultimately everything begins and ends. The alpha and omega is love in the heart, and that is the
that's.
expression that unifies every single one of us. I do believe we are one, but we are all having different experiences of that oneness.
Hmm.
Ultimately, the closer you get to source, the closer you don't see things through self and other anymore.
Hmm.
You see things in terms of spirit, and eventually as spirit.
We are one.
And
We are many.
it's a continual refinement.
Hmm.
But just as it goes up the tree, it also comes back down the tree.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
so it goes up the mountain, comes back down the. It's both. It's both.
Hmm.
So
Infinitely.
yes,
Hmm.
we are pure spirit, but ultimately we are also that which spirit is manifested. So when we look at our external reality, every single thing that is this play of consciousness is ultimately ourself.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%.
So,
Thanks, Randy.
mhm.
Sophia, same question to you. Are we one and the same, and do you see others' point of view?
Are we one and the same? We're all spirits having a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
We are all related in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as far as seeing other points of view, kind of what was spoken earlier, staying objective. It's like I heard a story one time, about some person that was in a big hurry and the people in front of him was going really slow and he was getting mad, beating on the steering wheel, But if you were to see that from above, you would see that the driver of that car is on their way to a funeral. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, however you're acting and reacting to a situation, attempting to stay objective and recognizing, self recognizing when you are and are not fit to be around other people. I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
huge responsibility. Just because you feel that you need to go do something, I think part of the responsibility of living, I guess, a spiritual life is acknowledging where you're at,
Mm-hmm.
in your head, what your
Yep.
motivation is for what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And not everybody is out there for everybody's highest and best.
Right.
And if
Right.
I say something that's
Mm-hmm.
misunderstood, ask me a question. I think the
Don't
world would
assume.
be, yeah, I think the world would be navigated a lot more gracefully if people would ask more questions and make fewer statements.
Mm.
So, yeah, because if you're being misunderstood,
Mm-hmm.
I don't like we said earlier, I don't think anybody gets up and says, "Hey, I'm going to go ruin so and so's day." I
Yeah.
think it's just this person's on this level, this person's on this level, and sometimes you miss. And if that person is important enough to you, then
Hmm.
you'll ask questions to find out what's really going on.
I love that.
That's point of view
Hmm.
for me.
Yeah.
But
Very good. Very
yeah,
good, Sophia. Love that. Delboro asks Teresa, go ahead. Go ahead.
So, yeah, I
Mm,
mean, are we all the same? Or do I see other people's points of view? Yeah, obviously I do. But you can't resonate with everybody's point of view, but you can understand where they're coming from.
right.
Because
Yeah.
we live in unique times. This is a unique time because basically our entire civilization that's taken us here from 6,000 years ago is collapsing all around
Hmm.
us
Yes,
in every
agreed.
respect.
I
Um,
agree.
and it's basically circling the drain. So you're going to have a lot of confusion, a lot of conflict, and it's it's difficult to keep one's head level. Only know that the final result of this is that what kind of world are we heading towards? Well, it's going to be a lot like the slums of Nairobi. That is our
Mhm.
future. So if you become attuned to that or cognizant of it, then devil may care.
Thanks, Delboro. Teresa, you were going to make a comment?
But yeah, that's okay. The There's always going to be individuals who are at a certain point in their growth where they're still going through something, either a trauma or a past trauma, or they've got patterns that they're having a hard time breaking. And so they will, and I think we use labels far too much in this world. We
Hmm.
call them psychopaths or sociopaths, or because that's, for lack of a better term, trying to find a way to describe these people. But they have a pattern of communication, and sometimes to make themselves feel better, they have to tear other people down.
Hmm.
And so they put out these opinions about a person without any fact or basis. So they don't go to the person to get to know the person better, or to
Hmm.
say, hey, did I misunderstand you? Or they don't want to work it out with you. They rather go behind your back and
Hmm.
tear you apart, tear you down, and ruin your reputation. Spread rumors, spread lies, spread gossip. And with those folks, all you can really do is send them as much love as you can, because they're another aspect of you
Hmm.
and they're part of the greater community. And whatever they have to go through, you send them intent. You send them intent, and you don't hold grudges, and you don't bash them. You
Hmm.
don't respond. The best response is a no response when
Yeah.
something like that
It
happens.
speaks volumes, doesn't it?
It speaks volumes. And
It
so
really does.
the best thing to do is to just not accept it
Hmm.
as your reality, because you know your own truth and you know you didn't do or say any of those things.
Right.
Or hey, there must have been something. Maybe I did do something and it's like being misinterpreted. I don't know.
Hmm.
But it never ceases to amaze me how it can roll, it can pick up like a magnet, attract people and affect other people. And so
Yeah.
next thing you know, you've got 5 people doing it, 10 people doing it, and then they're in a clique where they're
Hmm.
all saying these things about this person or a group of people that
Hmm.
simply isn't true and never was. But it's become their reality because they have manifested it.
Right.
Because of one person who's
Hmm.
so highly opinionated or judgmental that
Hmm.
they held a grudge for whatever their reasons are. And I
Hmm.
don't think it's because they're sociopathic or psychopathic. I think they've been damaged in some way through their own experiences in a not so great way, and they're still going through it. So what
Yeah.
do? You hate them for it? You don't listen to their opinions anymore? You don't respect them anymore? No. No. Send them love. Maybe others will gravitate to them and help them in different ways that you can't help them with. But what you can do is you can always be open minded about some things that they may have said, and never treat them bad. Never make them feel even worse than they already are, but you have to set healthy boundaries. So there's a difference between accepting people's opinions
Hmm.
and setting healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
right.
I agree. Sophia, you had a comment. Thank you, Teresa.
Uh huh.
A lot of times when I'm dealing with somebody that is tap dancing on toxicity and unhealthy.
I love that.
Kind of what Lucky was saying in chat earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Throw an awkward silence in there,
Yeah.
or whisper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Make them or repeat what they said immediately, not with a sarcastic tone, but as they delivered it, repeat it, because sometimes people get ahead of themselves instead of reflective listening. They're always thinking, what am I going to respond? What am I going to respond?
True.
Instead of
Yep.
a tender, productive conversation, it turns into a lightweight banter. I don't have time for that. If I want to
Yeah.
argue with somebody, I know who to call.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
but interjecting pause
Yeah.
and silence, because if somebody's talking over you, they feel what they have to say is more important what you have to say. So maybe that
Agreed.
conversation needs to stop sometimes for
Good
a
point.
while.
Really good point, Sophia.
Yeah,
Yep.
it just depends on the person. It really does. And there's nothing across the board.
Yep.
And that's why these kind of discussions and circles are important, is because
Absolutely.
you have a lot of different
Mhm.
approaches and people to help navigate a very complicated world.
Yes, so true. Well said, Sophia.
Thank you.
Awesome. Griff, we're going to end the show with you.
Yeah.
Are we one and the same? And do we see others' point of view?
I agree with every single person's point of view. So, do I see other people's point of view? I think I do.
I think you do too, Griff.
Thanks. So, are we one of the same? I think at one level we all are one of the same. We've gone through all the points. The panel has made those points. And I agree with them. We all belong to the source, and beyond that source, we all come back together sooner or later. We're all together, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Can you imagine the kind of party we're going to have when we all go back and go, man, wasn't that the shizzle? Didn't we have some fun with that? Yeah, exactly. That's
Damn, that
cool.
was close.
Good
recovery.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeannie, can you tell Lori, because I was trying to tell her, we were talking about interpretation and translation being one of the main things in language alchemy, Jules, that really messes us up in terms of our ability to open up and truly understand another person. And you gave a good definition between the two and the distinction between the two. Do you feel up to doing that to close it out?
Well, I can do a very short, in just a couple sentences.
Okay.
A translation, when something is said in a language, and we want to know what it means in another language, every word is translated. It's not always in the same, English
sequence?
is not the same as sequence. It's,
yeah.
But the words, some words are like two words in other languages. But then, so every word needs to be translated in that language in which it was written. Now, an interpretation of it is how did I say it, Teresa? The interpretation is when it's interpreted not really in the direct translation. So the words can be put in there that are not actually in the
open to interpretation.
In the script.
Yes, I get it.
So
so two people are communicating and expressing their opinions, they're actually saying pretty much the same thing, but they don't realize it because they're paying attention to the word verbatim instead of of understanding that, well, yeah, the words might be different, but our interpretation of it is pretty much in sync. It's just
Well,
that
Not always. Not
But-
not always.
not always,
Not
but
always.
but there's
Right.
we have more in common than we don't in most cases.
Correct. But there's but there's a lot. Sometimes these interpretations are inversion or disclosures.
There you go. Okay.
Okay.
I would say, from a professional standpoint, translation always refers to text, and interpretation always refers to the spoken word.
There you go.
I get that. I
Yeah,
totally
that
get
makes
that.
sense.
Yeah.
Yep. It's context versus wishful
Yeah.
thinking sometimes.
Mhm. Yep.
What can I say?
Yep.
Right. Jules?
Just with the language, of course,
Mhm.
if from my understanding, Hebrew's written from right to left and the Greeks come along and went left to right, it's back to front anyway.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they did that. The reason I think they did that way, and if I'm not mistaken, they did that because it was a continuation. Because the scrolls are just like on one big scroll. They're not like pages like we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're just written like that. It's more of a it's more of a
Yeah, I know what you mean.
textile type thing
Yeah.
versus a publishing thing.
But there is a way I have learnt myself through doing the way I do it. I've often put in the Hebrew consonants back to front and I've got the actual word instead of the way that it's spelt.
You
So
tend to dissect
Well,
the
Hebrew,
words.
they don't use any vowels. In English, we use vowels.
No, because
So
every
Use
letter
vowels.
meant something.
It can
Every letter
have
meant something.
every
Go ahead,
diddle, every this, every that, everything. Yes. I mean,
Anyway,
I think
it's
we
just
all understand that. Yeah.
Right.
We all understand that.
But I look at the alphabet from the other end anyway. Z, Y, X, W, V, U. That's how I actually am able to look at things so many different angles because I see that that's the beginning from the other end. Because ZY is the zygote, which is the egg. X is the crossing point of W.
I have a friend who likes to speak
There you
backwards
go.
all the time, which is fascinating.
Uh-huh.
That you could even do that. It's a trip. I'm like, what?
There's a lot of children. There's a lot of children doing that now more than ever now.
Yeah, interesting.
With the, with the health system is I think causing it, but that's not a road you want to go down right now. Tonight. It's too late.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are coming to the end of the show here. I'd like to thank everybody for being on the panel. Jules, thank you so much for being here. Grandpa Brian,
Thank you.
Great appreciation. Sophia, love you, sister. Dalibor, thank you so much for being here. Love you too. Griff, it's such a pleasure to have you here. And Randy,
love you all. Love you all.
love
Thank
your
you
words
very
of
much.
wisdom. And
Enjoy
we'll see you
everything.
next week. Watch out for the trailer. And before we leave, any housekeeping there, Teresa?
No, just a final thought. Think
Okay.
with the mind of magnificence and commune with each other in a state of love.
Ooh, I like that. And on that note, we will say peace out and much love to everyone. And thanks for watching. Hit the
Love you
like
all.
button, guys, if you liked it. Thanks.
Ciao, ciao.
Happy weekend.
Hit the like.
Ciao, ciao. Bye now.